Today's episode is brought to you by DNA Sports Training. If you or someone you know wants to take their game to the next level, then hit up DNA Sports Training. Visit DNASportsDenver.com to book a training session. We offer specialized sports training from football to track and field and everything else in between. Whether you're an offensive or defensive lineman wanting to get better off the ball, or you're an athlete wanting to improve your speed and agility, we have something for you over at DNA. Visit DNASportsDenver.com right now to sign up and buy some merch. Let's go. Yeah, I said we're out.
Nope, we're here live and direct.
Yo.
What's up, everybody?
Yo, DNA Sports Podcast once again for you. Number 10, and number 10's got to be special.
Got to be a special one. What's
Sorry.
up, Coach? How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm excited for this episode.
Dude, got a busy couple days coming up.
Yeah, we do.
Busy.
Fun, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be a different pace.
Yo, if you guys ain't doing nothing, get out with us at Citizens Park in Edgewater, also known as Edgewater Elementary.
Yes, sir.
And come throw some horseshoes with us for a good cause, raising money for our second grade Wheat Ridge Vikings youth football team. Give these kids an opportunity to experience some fun, do some different things, and at the end of the year have a great bash and ball. And who knows, maybe go play some football somewhere else, you know, other states, other opportunities, they always rise up. So it's good to have a little budget to be able to do some things. You know, youth sports are some of the least funded things that there are out there, and a lot of parents are coming out of pocket. So shout out to the parents.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a real good time. We got a lot of raffles going on. You know, we got TVs, got volleyball games going on, kickball.
Yo,
we got sound bars.
I'm looking at it right now,
raffles, and we have free kids raffles as well. So bring your kids out, and we're going to give out free raffles to the kids, and, you know, we're going to have a good time. And
I'm looking at it right now, dude, and I'm going to take a picture of this, and I'm gonna post it on our Instagram.
And that's only a fraction of it,
bro.
Other team moms and other coaches have other raffle gifts that we will be raffling off. So it's going to be a good time. Come get those gifts.
I'm talking about the TV, dog. You just put my name on it.
Oh, okay.
You just put my name on it.
Okay.
Are coaches excluded from winning?
Nope.
Bet I'm about to drop my paycheck.
Yep, let's do it. Coaches ain't excluded from winning, but they damn sure ain't excluded from paying too.
Hey. Now, once again, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. It's been a journey. We appreciate it. Shout out to all everyone that's shown some love, all the local businesses that's shown some love. Make sure you go visit DNASportsDenver.com. Go sign up for a training session. Go buy yourself a new coffee mug. We'll have to post this on the socials later on, and when we post this, we post video of this little escapade that we're on today. Some dope DNA Sports Training coffee mugs, t-shirts, sweaters, just swag galore. Make sure you go get yourself hooked up. Make sure you book up a training session. Shout out to Joseph and his mom Jenny for hooking it up the other day with a session. We got a great speed and agility training session in. I know you've been training them defensive linemen, man. It's been a blast, and I'm excited for where it's going so far.
Yeah, man. Shout out to the Morales siblings, 2 brothers and a sister. They've been putting in work, and it's showing on the field. And I can't wait to continue to work with them and work with anybody else. All you high school athletes out there, book a film session. We'll break down film. Yep. We'll study film. We'll talk chalk talk. We'll get whatever gets you right for the season.
Yeah, if it's consultation, you know, you want to find out what you're doing wrong or what you can do better. Man, it's not just training. It's everything. It's chopping football up, you know. It's definitely a passion of ours, whether it be football and just sports in general. I think working with young people, you got to have a certain heart to work with young people, and I don't like to brag on myself a lot or brag on my team, but I think we're good-hearted people that have the best interest in these young athletes in mind.
Yeah, for sure. But hey, football. That's what it's all about today, baby.
Yeah, this episode is all fantasy. We're not going to sit here and talk too much about our fantasy team, but we're going to talk about our fantasy team. Yeah. But we're also going to talk about, I know we drafted last week in the league I'm in with you, but I've also got a draft on Sunday coming up. So I know you got some more drafts coming up. So it's a good opportunity to kind of chop shop and maybe some do's or some don'ts, what goes into our evaluation process, who's a sleeper in our eyes, who's maybe a little overrated, and then maybe in the end we'll tie it all together with like our top 5, our top top of the top 5 at every position.
All right, sounds fun. Let's get into it.
All right, Dom. So I don't know. I just wanted to basically kind of go over with you like some do's or don'ts, man, when you're playing fantasy or when you're thinking about drafting your team. Some of the things that you're looking at, some of the things you're not looking at, some of the things maybe you avoid. Basic fantasy strategy and philosophy. Like, where are you at with it?
Well, there's a few things that I do and I don't do. I don't know if I'm going to give you too many of the do's just because, like you said, we got a couple of drafts coming up here soon, and I don't want to give out too much of the tips. But anyway, as far as don'ts go, I don't draft any players that are facing suspension. This has bit me in the ass in previous years, and it's not going to do it again. We were at our fantasy draft, and we seen one of our guys go bite on Deshaun Watson, and everybody turned and looked at him like, what? And he's a good fantasy player, so it was a shock to me that he did that, Then I don't like to have 2 or more players from each team on my roster. You just never want to get overloaded with one team, especially if they're on a down week. It's going to kill you. 2 players is the absolute max for me to have on one team, but they have to be a good combo, so that way if you hit big on a day, for instance, Carr and maybe Devontae Adams or something like that, you know what I mean, where they're going to score a lot of points, or like Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes, they're going to score a lot of points. Those are good combos to have. But
for sure.
Other than that, I try not to really get too many combos on my team either. And then I try not to play QBs that are traveling coast to coast, because besides fantasy football, it's been a lot of teams that cannot travel from the West Coast to the East Coast early, and vice versa for East Coast teams to come out here late games. It kind of affects them. Jet lag is real, and when they can't play the game, they can't perform and they can't score points fantasy-wise. So, I try to stay away from things like that. I'm a deep matchup watcher. I'm watching the matchups, strength of schedule. I break it down. Those are a lot of the things that I do. What about you?
So I agree with you on the traveling. It's funny, like living in a town that's AFC West town, you see a lot of those situations, where the Raiders, the Chargers, like going to the East Coast is horrible. I even say going to the East Coast is harder for West Coast teams than going from the East Coast to the West Coast. Not much, but just a little bit. But some of the things I like to do, just depending on the leagues, I like to stock up on running backs and wide receivers. That gives me an advantage later on when folks are looking for replacements. I know in our draft we had a lot of folks go quarterback early, and I know that it's a type that you can use 2 quarterbacks, but I still like where I project at based off of my stable of receivers, my stable of running backs. I just think it gives you some options later on, man. Like, you can find a quarterback to plug the hole. It's harder to find that top-end wide receiver, that top-end running back.
That's a fact, man.
Other thing I do is I try to go for quality over quantity, man. I don't need, a bunch of 8s. I want a dime, and I try to go for quality where I can. Obviously, it depends on where you're drafting at. And then I would prefer to pick somewhere in the middle, just because it seems like your spot comes along a little bit quicker.
5th is the best pick, in my opinion.
All day. 5th or 6th, depending on how many people. It's just it comes around a lot quicker. I hate even though you get top 3 pick, you get a choice of a really good player. Sometimes it's just I feel like you get that really good player and then a bunch of mediocre players.
Top 3 or bottom 3, really.
Yeah, for sure. Well, even on the bottom 3 though, the one thing I do like about being towards the bottom 3 is like I'm back to back with a good player. Like I'm back to back with a top 15 player.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm number 1, I got a top player and then I'm waiting to like 24th pick?
Yep.
So it's a little harder that way. And then I like taking chances on sleepers and maybe some rookies with some potential. I'm always watching rookies that come into the league.
Yeah.
And I'm giving up the goods because I'm thinking about our listeners. I'm going to help them out.
Yeah.
You ain't beat me this year, so it don't matter. You didn't beat me last year.
Oh, okay.
So it don't matter.
1 year builds up confidence. Whoa.
And then the last do for sure is do your homework. Find that diamond in the rough. There's always that one, you got to dig a little deeper to find, but then you find them, and that it might make or break your season.
Yeah, and another thing is don't get complacent with your roster.
Yep.
Right? Don't get comfortable with your roster. Don't think that who you draft is who you're going to finish with. I'm always hitting the waiver wire. I'm always trying to trade. I'm always trying to make some moves, man, because It's the NFL.
Yeah.
Anybody could go down at a drop of a dime. So you got to see who has value when they have the value and get rid of them high and buy them low. You know what I mean? So,
well, I think if you go into it thinking your roster's complete, like you might miss out on some good opportunities, especially early on in the season where maybe it's not as known as a person that's on that waiver wire, but you've seen them blow up and you kind of follow a little bit. You can kind of sneak them through and sneak them past some folks. I know one of the don'ts that I get into is I don't buy the hype, man. I try to avoid the hype. If there's someone I have questions about drafting but feel like I don't feel pressured to draft them if everyone's like blowing them up.
Yeah.
You know, there's a few guys, and we'll get into it later on, but there's a few guys that are kind of on my all hype, no hope list. And I try to avoid that. And then obviously don't overdraft kickers and defenses.
Like, I'm glad we got rid of the kicker.
That's like the first thing I've been to without a kicker. I don't know. Sometimes they're good for you get a good one. They're good for 12 points, but I think people overdrafting defenses, like that can, like, I mean,
someone drafted 2 defenses in our league.
Yeah, bro. I'm lucky to take one, and I'm looking like bottom 8, or bottom 5 rounds. Like the first 8 to 10 rounds, dude, I'm not touching a kicker. I'm not touching a defense. Like I'm getting quality players at skill positions.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing, I'm just gonna throw a curveball at you a little bit.
That's all right. I'll hit it out the park.
Who on your roster in our league right now are you like is on the wire?
Who in our league?
Yeah, let's talk about it, man, because you're like, I get trade bait and I'd like to make moves. So what kind of action we talking? What are you looking for?
Here's the thing.
We had the same kind of draft strategy, though, it seemed like.
Here's the thing, bro. Being from Denver, if they have a quality athlete that falls to me, I might snatch them up just because I know I play with a lot of Bronco fans, and it might be potential trade bait. If I know somebody's a giant Raider fan and they're playing with their heart and not their head, that might be something I can throw out there.
Yeah.
I always like fans of teams, right? When you play fantasy, I think you can't be a fan of a team. You kind of throw your allegiance at the door, because then you start making emotional and
like
decisions with your heart.
Number 1.
Yeah, like drafting. Shout out to your bro.
I love you, bro.
But no, for real though. Drafting Devontae Adams, over some other quality that might be out there.
Hey, Devontae, better watch for her, bro. I'm telling you.
No, you'll see.
But this is the thing, right? I see what you're saying, but I'm asking who. Like, for instance, I know there's a lot of people that are high on Bronco players, right? You were talking about them.
Yeah.
The receiving core has a great matchup. The strength of schedule fares well to receivers. So, Jerry Jeudy, whoever has him, might be on the wire. I figured they'll probably trade those guys, but I'll stay away from the Broncos.
I stood away from Jerry Jeudy. I stood away from Bronco receiving in general, especially early on. I think it's going to take Russ a little bit of time to kind of get some traction. And really, their receivers have so many question marks outside of Courtland Sutton that that would probably be the only one I'd touch. Now, I'm big on Javonte Williams. I know they got Malvin too, but I think this year's going to be more of like a 60-40 split for him. And I think what he can do out the backfield kind of keeps him on the field sometimes. The only question marks I have with that is, are they going to go back to using Malvin in the red zone like they did last year? That's what I was
just getting ready to say. He is a touchdown magnet.
Yeah, but Javonte has also proven last year, towards the end of the season, especially the half of the season, he's fully capable of being that red zone running back. So what I wonder, I think we're going to see more of a Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon kind of deal. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think Malvin might play a little less role than A.J. Dillon did, but it's going to be kind of that, right? Where inside the red zone, they might, if they're 10 out, it's probably going to be 10 in, it's probably going to be Malvin.
Yeah. So you don't even have to look up your exact roster, but what position do you think that you are in most need to kind of correct from your draft night? And don't say none because you're the GOAT.
I will say a position of concern, maybe quarterback. I went with Burrow. So that would be, and I have Carson Wentz as like a backup.
Oh, I just want to throw another curveball out there real quick. It has nothing to do with fantasy football. I'll save it for the end. We'll save it for the end.
You're good. What?
Nah, we're gonna save it for the end.
Don't forget.
At the end, we're gonna talk about the Aaron Donald situation.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think you asked me like who's waiver bait or trade bait.
Trade bait for you.
I think like I got Darrell Henderson Jr. Right, and I know him and Cam Akers are splitting time out there in Los Angeles.
I think he'll get more. I think he'll get more of the carries.
Well, and Cam got hurt last year, and he did a great job filling in. Sony Michel did a great job filling in, but I think that's one where potentially if he fills in early, that might be something I can use to kind of leverage another player from someone else, right?
Yeah.
To update to improve my roster. Another one like James Robinson. Right now with Etienne back, like how's that going to work with that backfield? Travis Etienne, you know, he would have been a rookie last year, got hurt, missed the entire season. James Robinson's only been back-to-back 1,000-yard rusher, I believe. So how's that going to work? You know, I think those two guys give me a chance to have something on my roster to kind of negotiate with. Not to mention, you know, my running backs are deep, bro. But I don't want to get too much into my team. But that's kind of just where I'm at with that. Like I'll find situations that I can use to improve my team elsewhere.
Okay, I respect it.
Since we're evaluating our lineup, where are you at with like evaluation process? Do you evaluate games for potential draft picks? Like, yo, I want to get this dude because he's facing this defense twice a year. You know, like, do you look at things like that?
Oh yeah, I definitely look at that. I look at the opposing team and how they fare against running backs, receivers, quarterbacks, tight end, et cetera, et cetera. You know, for instance, for me this year on my roster in our league, you know, I know a lot of people questioned it because this guy is coming off of an injury, you know, but before his injury had flashes of some great things.
Yeah.
You know, and week 1 on his schedule, J.K. Dobbins travels to play the Jets.
Yep.
And the Jets are very kind to running backs, and I also want to see what he's going to do, right? It's also somewhat of an evaluation for him, right? Because if he performs well,
yep,
his value might go up, and he might, again,
might be able to use him to flip him, yep.
You know what I mean? If he performs mediocre, I might want to hold on to him to see if he ups his value a little bit. If not, I might have to get rid of him quick, you know? So that's one particular player that I'm watching week 1 just because, again, it's a fair matchup for him, but also I just want to see what he's going to do.
I'm kind of big on JK this year too, bro. He got hurt last year, and if you were a Baltimore running back last year, that's what you did, was get hurt. Mm-hmm. I know they got Mike Davis over there. They got Gus Edwards. I think JK is going to lead that charge. He was great coming out of Ohio State. I'm big on him. He's not quite a sleeper for me, but he's definitely somebody I was looking at later on in the draft.
Oh, I didn't call him a sleeper, did I?
No. Oh. I'm just saying, like, he's not like, because he's not out there. He's not like a top running back, but he's definitely not somebody that you're saying you don't expect anything out of. Yeah. Like, I think, and based off where you drafted him too, I think you drafted him mid-draft, you know what I mean? You got good value for him. Yeah. I think he's somebody that can provide that, especially with the way when Baltimore runs the ball and they play the offense they want to play, they're unstoppable. Yeah. And all their running backs rack up points, you know?
Because, you know, Lamar's going to open it up.
And that's another thing that it's going to help out is it's going to help out Lamar a bunch, being that they actually have a legitimate running attack, where last year they were kind of dude, what did they lose, like 4 different running backs at the beginning of the season, and they're piecing guys in there? And
you got to think about this, too. Not only that, right, what's their passing game going to be like this year with only Mark Andrews, right? They have brought in a few pieces, but Marquise Brown's no longer there, so their passing game potentially could be affected, and maybe they're going to be a little bit more run heavy opposed to pass.
Well, and I'd expect them to be run heavy to open up them lanes a little bit too, right? To get that extra player up in the box, so that, because I don't know that Lamar has gotten to be a better passer over the years. I still think he's on like them first 2 reads. So to keep it simple, why not, you know, run the ball a bunch? That right there is going to soften up the defense to think run, RPO, maybe get something over the top. Yeah, should be the king of RPO, especially with Andrews just sitting, you know, dropping that there and sitting.
Them 3 should be a deadly combo.
Yep.
You know, another guy, before you get into yours, George Kittle. You know, not necessarily any particular game, just San Francisco's strength of schedule versus for tight ends is pretty favorable for him. So, you know, I think that he should have a good year. I think, again, people are worried about what's the quarterback situation going to be like.
Yeah.
But people are sleeping on Trey Lance. And I think Trey Lance is going to come in there and he's going to prove some things.
Well, and I think it's the same thing what we're talking about with Baltimore, bro. Like San Francisco runs the ball really well.
Yep.
Right? They've got a great tight end, right? RPO all day.
Yep.
RPO all day. Let Kittle work him, and he's not like a possession tight end. He can take the top off a little bit, right? I think he went off for like 200 plus yards a few years ago against the Broncos in the first half. You know what I mean? Could have broke the record, and they only threw to him one more time in the second half. But he gives you an opportunity to do some things. I definitely like his game a lot, and what they have to offer, and it's only going to help. Anytime they run that ball, it's only going to help. Plus, I have Elijah Mitchell, so if they pound that rock. You know what I mean?
Works out for both of us.
Any other things that you do when you're evaluating a team? Like, I keep an eye on for teams that give up the booty to running backs and wide receivers, being that I draft those. Yeah. I always look out for teams coming up that, all right, you know what? It might be me replacing Nick Chubb because he's up against the Steelers in favor of, I don't know, Josh Jacobs because he's up against the Broncos and they're not as strong against the run.
Oh, yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
There's tons of things that go into it, Coach. It's just like regular football, right? Weather. I'm looking at weather reports each week. I'm playing the matchups, but I'm playing weather too, right? Is it going to be an ugly game? Is it going to be a good game? If it's nice and sunny, well, then we might be putting as many receivers in, playing an extra receiver in that flex. If it's a rainy day, a lot of the games, ugly weather, I might throw a running back in that flex. You never know. You know what I mean? Like, different things.
Well, and I take that into account, too, drafting, like, quarterbacks, NFC South quarterbacks. How many of them play in a dome?
Yeah.
Almost all of them.
Yep.
They all play in fair weather. I try to avoid, like, I know Aaron Rodgers is good in the snow, but sometimes that makes me nervous.
Yeah.
New England quarterbacks in the snow, not Tom Brady. That makes me nervous.
Yep.
New York quarterbacks, that makes me nervous. Anywhere where the weather's going to be questionable, it's definitely, especially late in the season when it's championship time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think fantasy football is not, I think so many aspects of it is real football. You have to evaluate things just like you would evaluate any situation like you were going into a game time,
Yeah, I have the problem wanting to fire everybody sometimes, especially after a poor week. Like, that mother lover's getting fired.
See, I know when to poach players now. Are you one of the players, Coach, that rides the waiver wire, watching people, waiting for them to drop a guy and you swoop him up before they can pick him back up on the roster? Because you have certain weeks, right, where everybody's on a bye week and you're going to have to drop somebody, and then you have that guy that swoops up and takes your guy, and it pisses you off. I've had it happen.
I mean, I watch the waiver wire constantly. I've definitely
have you done it?
What, swoop up on somebody's player because they had to cut him?
Instantly, like,
I don't recall a certain instance where I did, but I know I would try. I mean, if you have to drop J.K. Dobbins because he's on the bye and you have no choice, better hope to God I don't get him, because I will swoop up your guys just to piss you off. Especially,
I've learned the hard way.
If somebody in first place,
yeah,
oh, dude.
Oh yeah,
no sympathy.
Even if you don't need him, just hold him there.
Just stash and dash, bro.
Yep.
Hey, sometimes you have to though, man. Sometimes you have to try to. You do whatever you got to do to make your team better, bro. This is, we all put money into it to win some money, and this isn't just for fun. This is to make some stuff happen.
Yeah, for sure. And then of course you gotta evaluate X's and O's, right?
Yeah.
What receivers get targets? If you're a PPR, then you want to look at the guys who get high volume. You know what I mean? And exactly what we're gonna do in our league. We get a half-point PPR. We're gonna look at those guys that are going to get that volume receptions.
So my cousin's league that I have a draft in for this weekend is a wild league, bro.
Oh no. Is it like
bro,
NBA scores
are
worse? Actually.
They're high scores, yeah, for sure. But like, it's strategy though. Like you get a point for every touch. So if you're running the ball, you get a point for every touch, right? So you look for running backs that get 20 touches, there's 20 points right there, not to mention what they get in their actual production. For quarterbacks though, this is where it gets wild. Quarterbacks, you get a point for every completion, but you lose a point for every incompletion.
That's cool. I think I like that more than every touch.
So like with that, like,
because you got guys coming off the bench scoring pretty decent points.
Yes and no. You got to know when to play him.
Yeah.
You know
but
what
if
I mean?
you have that makes it more favorable for guys that are in, running back tandems.
It helps out for your flex for sure. It definitely handcuffing your running back might be a good idea in that league. But it's like you got to be like, one year I had Tua because of a bye week or some shit like that, and dude, he was like less than 50% passing, and he scored like 2 touchdowns, but I got like 3 points total just because his negative points for interception, his negative points for incompletions. Like, it was, you got to be smart. You got to do your homework and find out who's throwing over 65% and try to target them people. You know?
For sure.
Same with receiving. If you got someone like Deebo Samuel, Cordell Patterson, for instance, like, you're getting mad points for all their touches. So it's a little unorthodox, but it's super dope, man. And my cousin's league's been fun. You get some big scores, and you also get some rather disappointing ones.
Yeah, for sure. So is there any particular player on your roster that you're looking forward to a game
this year for like a game that I'm playing?
Yeah, or like a part of your evaluation process. Have you kind of already seen any particular week that you're looking for? Not even maybe someone that you're playing in our league. Have you seen like a week that you're
not really? I haven't. I got San Francisco's going up against Chicago that first week, and I got Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel. I'm a little concerned because it's in Chicago, and but it's also early. The weather should be fine. Also got that. I screwed up and got 3 players going this week from San Francisco. I got that defense going too, which that might be a benefit though, because Chicago sucks. Justin Fields,
I don't know, man. This might be the year for Justin Fields.
I don't know.
I think so, Coach. This could be the year.
I don't know.
You know what? I think sometimes there's just things that go unnoticed, you know what I mean, when they really shouldn't. For instance, I want to give a shout out to Christian Whitney and Black Sevens. If you need any graphic design work done, make sure you hit up Christian at blacksevens.com. Christian is a native of North Denver and a beast at what he does. He is also a great dude. So visit blacksevens.com right now to see his work, buy some merch, and see all that he has going on. He knocked the DNA logo out the park, and we are super excited to feature his work. Visit blacksevens.com right now for more. He should not be unnoticed. Check out Christian, man. He does good work.
Hey, Christian is a true sleeper.
Yeah.
And since we're going into that segment, it makes for a perfect segue.
Yes, it does.
But he's also full of hope, and he's definitely I believe the hype with Christian.
Yeah.
All day, every day, man. Shout out to Christian. Appreciate you, brother, for all that you did for us in terms of making our logo stand out and pop.
Yes, sir.
So, getting to that wake up call, Dom. Who are we sleeping on, man? What players are people sleeping on that you need to wake them up to, man? I know I have a couple. I know you've got a couple. You want to go first? You want me to?
I'll go first.
By all means.
Just because I feel like, particularly in our league, that this guy was slept on, and I think he might be slept on in other leagues as well.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to be able to snag him up late.
Adam Thielen, man. I think this guy is a workhorse. He's been a top fantasy receiver for numerous years, and I picked up Adam in the 10th round in our league.
Yeah.
And they forgot about his productivity years, bro. And I know the emergence of Justin Jefferson is going to take away from his value. That's their number one guy. But he is healthy and ready to go. He has had 24 touchdowns on 202 targets over the past 2 seasons.
Yeah.
He's a touchdown machine, bro, and everybody's sleeping on him. Another guy that I mentioned earlier is Justin Fields. I think he's going to have a good year.
Really?
I do, bro. I've been following him ever since his high school days, bro, and I think that he's going to have a good year this year from the quarterback position. He has a decent schedule, you know what I mean? I think they're putting some pieces around him to try to help him out a little bit, besides guys like Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones. He has one of the most favorable schedules for a guy who's came off, not very good year past previous years. So, watch out for Justin Fields. I think he's going to do some damage.
He's definitely got some weapons with Darnell Mooney, with Montgomery in that backfield. Offensively, they got some weapons. If that offensive line can hold up, I think that was a big problem last year with the guy getting hardly any time, getting hurt. you know, it didn't matter who you were. You had a hard time standing behind that offensive line last year. I think that'll be a big key to not only Justin Fields' success, but any of their offensive players, which I do have a couple.
Yeah, and, you know, I think since I've been following Justin Fields for quite some time, and he's a player of adversity.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And he's always overcome adversity. And I think he's getting to the years in Chicago where he's going to probably try to have to start making some things happen, you know, similar to Tua in Miami. Yep. And if he doesn't start making things happen, they might start looking to shop him around a little bit.
New regime, you get a new GM there, new coach there. They didn't draft him.
Exactly. So, you know, this is his year to really come out and prove something. And I'm not sleeping on him this year.
He's definitely resilient, man. I remember when he got freaking drilled against Clemson in that semifinal, and then he came back and was just savage and murked Clemson up something mean, you know. So he's definitely resilient. I feel you on that. That's a good one. I went with one that I've heard a lot about, and I'm bullish on this guy, Kyle Pitts. He's the first rookie tight end to surpass 1,000 yards since 1961 when Mike Ditka did it.
Okay.
I think one question mark is now that he has Mariota thrown to him instead of Matt Ryan, that can be seen as a question mark. But I'm bullish on him because Mariota has tended to favor his tight ends in the past. Yeah. You know, you think about his time in Tennessee with Delanie Walker. Yeah. You know, he uses that security blanket, and that's just what Kyle Pitts is. So I think he's a sleeper. I've talked about him a little bit, and I'm bullish on him. Javonte Williams here, and if you're from Denver, he's not a sleeper. But I think he's primed for another strong season. He's a damn good running back in North Carolina. I think he came in last year and was a bowling ball. And as long as he stays healthy, I think he can only improve on that. And then one that I call a sleeper that's hard to be a sleeper because he's a top 5 wide receiver, and it's Tyreek Hill. Yeah. I think there's a lot of question marks with him going to Miami, with seeing how if Tua can get him the ball. I think that's the only thing I heard the whole time is can him and Tua connect. And I think so far the early returns from Dolphins practices, it's beautiful.
You know what I don't get, man, is a lot of people sometimes take the new face thing and think it's a negative thing for somebody just because they left a really good situation. Yeah. And bottom line, Tyreek Hill is the cheetah, bro. Yeah. He's going to be hard to cover. He's going to get open. He's going to score points. You know what I mean? Yeah. And everybody thinks just because he went to Miami and the Dolphins are the Dolphins and things like that. You know, that wasn't a punch.
I think it's justified though, because you go from having arguably the best quarterback in the league to arguably one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Now a lot of that's not Tua's fault. He's a young quarterback. So I think some of that is justifiable. However, I think wide receiver is one of the positions where a lot of times it's made by the quarterback, but there's certain individuals that come along that their talent dictates that they're not made by the quarterback, i.e. Randy Moss. Yeah. You know, I think Randy Moss made a lot of Dante Culpepper. Yeah. So I think Tyreek Hill has that talent where it doesn't matter who he plays with, he can be great as long as they can connect. And I think so far they've connected.
And that could be the same thing said for Kyle Pitts and Mariota, right? Facts. Because Mariota is a mobile quarterback, so if he can get out of the pocket, Kyle Pitts extends the route a little
longer. Yep.
You know, work he's going to look for him, open it up. He's going to hit that tight end, so that could be the same thing said for them as well.
This last one you're going to like. I went a little long-winded with mine, and I apologize.
It's all right. I love the way you're finishing it out.
I had fun today.
It's really making me happy.
Derek Carr. He's a sleeper. I know we're clowning on your brother for taking him number 1 overall, and I wouldn't have took him number 1 overall.
Either would I.
I was looking for him. To be honest with you, I was looking for him later on, like 5th, 6th round. I'm not going to lie. He was on my board.
I don't think he would have lasted that long.
I think he's primed for a great year, bro. The addition of Devontae Adams really will help his stats grow. He already has chemistry with Devontae Adams from their college days, and I think that's getting a lot of hype, and I think that might be a little too much. You know, it's been a few years since they played together, but they know each other. They know when a play breaks down where this player is going to show up at, right? And I think that's the important part that's missed in their chemistry. It's not necessarily the fact that he's thrown to him hundreds and hundreds of times. It's he knows where he's going to go when the play breaks down.
You know what's great to hear, though, about them too is they're students of the game still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just hearing a lot of the hype around camp right now, and they haven't really been able to see the field. Obviously, they're not going to see the field through all preseason. So this week was our joint practices with New England, and they got some action, and they connected. Day one, they connected on everything except for one pass.
Bro.
And they were right away talking about how can we make that one pass next time.
I think
it's going to be exciting.
I think McDaniel's system
Perfect
is better than John Gruden's.
It is.
And it's going to be an improvement for Carr. And I also think he's got potentially 3 big-time pass catchers to throw the ball to. He's got Adams. He's got Darren Waller, who had a disappointing season last year, but all he's done is had a great career. And then he's got Hunter Renfrow, third and Renfrow. And
do you, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Do you think John Gruden's offense is kind of what caused Josh Jacobs to battle so much injury last year, the way we use running backs? Because he's not really a power back. He, in my opinion, he's a shifty guy. I mean, he has power, but he's very, his cuts are beautiful, bro. So I think, we used him in more of the bruiser type feel, and I think McDaniels is going to open things up to where we're going to pass it to him out the backfield. We're going to. I
think if you look at his use over the last 2 years, they used Josh Jacobs a ton last 2 years, a ton. And, a lot of teams do that with young running backs. I fully expect the Broncos to do it here with Javonte Williams because he's a young running back. He doesn't cost you much. Use him up, right? Use them tires. I agree with you in terms of McDaniels' offense, but I also think what's the young rookie that the Raiders just picked up? I forget his name. I forget his name. However, they got a young rookie. I think they were saying Kenyon Drake's going to get cut.
He did get cut.
He did get cut finally. So, I mean, I think New England style offense has never needed a big name running back. You just need someone that could be effective out the backfield with it, with receiving the ball, and then someone that's like a change of pace that can hit the hole real quick and break off a couple important runs when you need it. And I think they have everything to do that. And that's why Derek Carr is one of my sleeper picks, man. I really think he's poised to have a really good year, maybe a career year.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to put up good numbers. I think he has proven that he puts up good numbers the last few years, and it's only going to get better with the addition of Adams. It really is. Well, especially a healthy Waller as well.
True that. Not everything that glitters is gold, though.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of hope and also a lot of hype going on, too. So, transitioning to that, what are some players that we hope will get right, but the hype just might not be real?
You want me to kick this one off?
I'll go.
Okay, because I think everybody's going to hate my pick.
I just looked at the notes, too. I've got a couple, again, sorry, but one that I had a hard time putting on this list because I really wanted to put him on as a sleeper because he can be either or, in my opinion, is Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of hope he's going to be healthy, which is why he was almost a sleeper of mine. But he hasn't been healthy the last few years. And he also has a lot of tread on the tires that's been taken off. And he
also has a questionable quarterback situation there.
I think he's got a better quarterback this year than he had the last couple of years. I think Baker's an upgrade over Sam Darnold, over a broken down Cam Newton.
Maybe I'm just not really big on Baker, but
I'm not big on him either.
I just
think he's better than what they've had the last couple of years. I don't think it's better in that it's gonna be the difference making better.
Yeah.
Maybe a win or two. Baker looked bad last year. But he was hurt last year.
Is it going to elevate C-Mac's game or hurt his game by having a guy like Baker Mayfield who is primarily going to be a pocket passer? He's not going to be moving around out there.
I think a competent quarterback play will do a ton for C-Mac's game just because you have to respect it.
Yeah.
If they know a broken down Cam Newton's back there, they know not so good Sam Darnold's back there. They had a kid from not the XFL, the USFL a couple years ago starting that quarterback. I forget the kid's name. It escapes me. But just having better quarterback play will improve. Now, again,
right.
The thing I said, he has been beat up the last couple years.
Yeah.
He played a ton in Stanford, ran the ball a bunch, caught the ball a bunch, was their offense, was Carolina's offense his first couple years in the league. I just don't know that he holds up.
Yeah,
if he does,
be a little beat up.
If you can steal him, middle of the draft, go for it. Take a runner on him.
Yeah,
because if he pays out, dude, he's a top 5 running back.
Yeah,
if it plays out, but I don't know that it's going to.
I don't either. That's why I wasn't gonna touch him.
What about Amon-Ra St. Brown? I heard people talking about him at the draft last week, bro.
I think the reason he's on your list, right? I think he's a great player. I do. I wish he was in a better situation.
Yeah.
I think Detroit, they're on Hard Knocks. They're working. They're trying. You know what I mean? But I just don't believe the hype in Detroit, period. You know, Jared Goff has been, proven to be a questionable quarterback mind. It's been said that he can't diagnose defenses and things of that nature. And, I think a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown will help him out, but I just don't know if Goff is going to help him out.
And that's why he's on this hype list.
Yeah.
Because I heard a lot of people talking about him, but it's still the Detroit Lions, man.
Yeah.
It's still Jared Goff throwing in the ball. Detroit's going to have a solid running game.
The cowardly lion.
DeAndre Swift is legit. Jamal Williams is a good backup. They got that kid Craig Reynolds that came in last year and tore it up for them. They're running. They're wide receivers. They got Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got DJ Shark there this year, and then Josh Reynolds there.
Yeah.
And Josh Reynolds had a good year last year. TJ Hawkinson at tight end. I still think it's Detroit though, and it's still Jared Goff, and that's why it's all hope and no hype, or all hype and no hope.
Yeah, I agree.
I got a couple more, but what you got? I want to piss some people off.
All right, Coach. Well, for me, I love this guy, right? I love the way he plays the game. I think he's one of the greatest to ever do it. But Aaron Rodgers, I just don't think he will do anything great. I don't think he's going to be a horrible quarterback, but I don't think he's going to be the normal Aaron Rodgers that we're used to seeing.
Okay.
Right? I don't think he's going to put up the numbers that we're used to seeing. I don't think he's going to be ranked within the top quarterbacks mid-season like we're accustomed to seeing. So I think that he's going to be on a slight decline this year. Not a huge decline. Again, he's not going to be dog water.
He can't put up back-to-back MVP numbers, can he?
No.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, so when you're on top, right, it's not that
it's hard to stay up there.
Yeah, so I think that he's definitely going to take a step back, man. Losing Devontae Adams is a big blow.
Loss.
It's a big blow to him. They still got a great team, great foundation, but at the end of the day, losing a playmaker like that just makes it so much easier for a guy who always complains.
Well, and at the end of the day, at some point, it's going to come down to having the talent at skill position, especially wide receiver and tight end. And when you haven't drafted talent in the first round at those positions since Mercedes Lewis, like that there should be something said about that, And again, we referenced earlier about quarterbacks making receivers, and a lot of times that does happen. So he better take chicken scraps and make chicken soup with it.
They could always break receivers too, and my thing with Aaron Rodgers, my biggest gripe with Aaron Rodgers all the time is, I know he plays with a lot of emotion, right? Mm-hmm. But for me, he's always negative.
You got an axe to grind against.
He's
Aaron
all
Rodgers.
negative all the time, bro. Like, there's a certain way you motivate your teammates, and sometimes going to the media and doing what he does is not the way you do it. And to do that to a young rookie receiver, I'm not going to catch a ball you throw to me.
Yeah.
Right? Or I'm not saying they're going to purposely do that, but it's going to break the morale of the locker room, and eventually it's going to turn into some shady crap. And I think that it's going to be a tough year for Rodgers.
Eventually, at some point, he's beefed with all of his coaches, McCarthy, LaFleur. Eventually, at some point, that stuff's going to come to roost. So I kind of agree with you. I don't know that it's going to be – I don't know that he's all hype, but I definitely don't – I don't know. I've never had good luck using Rodgers. The one time I drafted him in the league, he got hurt. So,
Yeah, I don't know if he's all hype, but right now I think it's a lot of hope.
Gotcha.
Right? A lot of people are hoping that he will be the same guy.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't think it's going to happen.
Man, I have Darren Waller too.
I know. I seen that, and I was
let me explain it though. Let me explain it though, because it's not for the reasons you would think. Like, I think he's going to have a solid year, but I do think some of his production is going to go down for two reasons, especially. One, Hunter Renfrow has made himself that third down across the middle, hard yardage to get, go-to guy, whereas a lot of times that's reserved for the tight end. And I think Renfrow he was a Pro Bowler last year, and he's really worked himself to be a great receiver, and he's going to benefit from having Devontae Adams on the other side. But also, I think Waller's numbers are going to take a hit from having Devontae Adams out there to having that Josh McDaniels offense where they're spreading the ball to the running backs a little bit more. It's not just – I think last year a lot of Gruden's offense was throw it to Waller, then work outside. Mm-hmm. And I think they've got these outside threats now that kind of make that inside game a little obsolete. Now, I will say Patriots are notorious for having great tight ends. So I think this offense does do a lot for Waller. And so I can – only way I say he's hype – I still think he's a top tight end. I just wonder if his production is going to take a hit.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. You know what? At all. But for me personally, I think it's going to only make every receiver on the Raiders better.
It might.
I mean, I think, it comes down to who are you going to double team?
Yeah.
Who are you going to double team? And the minute you leave one of them man on man, we're going to expose it. And if you don't, we're going to dump it to our back.
Yeah.
Or we're going to run it down your throats.
And that's where you got to hope your offensive line holds up so that the team doesn't get the luxury of playing zone and blitzing the shit out of you.
Yeah, and I guess I'm talking more football instead of fantasy football.
Yeah.
But I do think when you have an offense that has that much weapons, that it's kind of hard to contain all those weapons all the time. So I really do think that productivity is not going to take a big drop off there, especially since last year he was injured for a majority of the year. Yeah. So one would say last year was a down year for him. So, this year he could only go up.
And if he's healthy this year, I definitely think he's there. He's had the benefit of health for most of his career. So that's the only thing that's a little worrisome. I put Kyler Murray down too, dude.
I seen that as well. I like Kyler, and I actually like Tua too. A lot of people don't like Tua, but I like both of those guys. I think they have potential to be great players.
I think the way it ended last year was on a bad trend for Kyler.
Yeah,
they started out super hot, just for whatever reason couldn't finish off as strong. I think they finished like almost near 500.
Yeah.
I have questions about the way it appeared he quit on his team last year.
Yeah.
And I don't know where his team stands with that.
Yeah, I mean, they got some new faces in there, too. Maybe, Marquise Brown will bring a different pace for him.
Yeah. They got a young coach, though, and I wonder how he's going to handle that.
Yeah.
Especially now that Kyler's paid, right? It's not – regardless of how you feel about a player, their abilities, once you pay that player, they get a bigger voice in the locker room.
Well, you know why you also have to respect this, right? Because the whole film thing with Kyler.
Yeah.
If you're not studying film, you're not scoring fantasy points, bro.
And I question his work ethic. He did make a valid point. He was a top overall pick in baseball and in football, and you don't get there by not working hard. But at the same time, I think each level you go up in sports, you have to work harder.
Yeah,
and he might have worked hard there earlier. I don't know that he's necessarily working as hard as he needs to at this level.
You don't hear guys like Russell Wilson saying that.
Why? And you don't hear them putting them clauses into their contracts and then having to bitch about it to get it out.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, I'm going to kick my feet. I'm in the NFL. I'm going to kick my feet up now. I made it, mama. Nah, that ain't how it goes, bro.
Just started.
Like, you know how many NFL players that sit on the bench for years hate a statement like that?
Yep.
God.
I have one more for you, bro. That's just an honorable mention, and it's for the same reason you put Aaron Rodgers up there.
Before you say the name, I think you need to get ready to bleep before you do this.
Why? Are you going to curse?
No. It should be bleeped out. It's like, go ahead.
Tom Brady.
Okay.
There's a lot of distractions this offseason. I mean, retiring, unretiring, the perceived kind of rift between him and God, why am I blanking on the coach's name? What's the coach's name? The old coach just left from there.
Bruce Arians.
Bruce Arians. God damn it. The rift between him and Arians, right? and kind of spilled over to Arians basically retiring,
Yeah.
being forced out. I don't know, depending on what you want to believe. And at some point, it's got to end. Like 25 seasons, 45 years old. At some point, like, did he make a deal with the devil or some shit? Because Father's time has been rather nice to him. At some point, it's got to end.
I don't know if it's this year.
Speaking of Father Time, sorry, you ain't the only one throwing curveballs. Did you see Terrell Owens ran a 4.3?
Bro,
40?
Terrell Owens, they need to quit sleeping on Terrell Owens. He is a specimen. He's always has been.
He's as old as Tom Brady running a 4.3.
Yeah.
That's great.
Give him a shot.
Hey, I'll tell you what.
Put him on Denver's roster.
They need receivers. They would take his gold jacket, though. I think they'd take his gold jacket away from him.
Right,
I think when you unretire, they take your gold jacket. And he got screwed. That's a different story.
Yeah.
I know we're been rolling already.
Been rolling.
Getting to our last little segment, though. And this is kind of just top 5 at each position.
Okay.
Like, what are you thinking? Who do you see? I know you have your favorites, and we can run through it really quick. But what do you think at quarterback? What's your top 5 at quarterback?
My top 5 or just my top guy?
What's your top? I misinterpreted it. I wrote down top 5 at each position.
Okay,
but
well, that's fine with me.
We can go. We can talk top guys though.
In any particular order, or just
particular
top 5?
order, whatever. Any particular order.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna put my number 1 guy, and then I'll say the rest.
Yeah. Okay.
And you still got to put respect on this dude's name, man. Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the top quarterback still in the league. I know this other guy will be on my list, but Josh Allen has done great things, but Patrick Mahomes, man, he just makes plays when you don't think plays are going to be made, and he's a spectacular athlete to watch, and I think he's going to continue to make plays, and he still has Kelsey. You know what I mean? Tyreek's gone, but he has Kelsey, and he has other weapons there, so he's going to throw the ball around like he normally does. If you watch a Chiefs game, he doesn't just target one receiver. He hits all of his receivers in his successful games. So I believe Patrick Mahomes is going to continue to strive, and he's going to be the top fantasy quarterback, in my opinion. And then, Josh Allen is going to be right there with him. I think Josh Allen has a great situation in Buffalo. He's, again, a guy that everybody slept on coming into the league, and he's kind of took the bull by the horns and did what he's done, man. He's
got weapons.
Yeah, he has a ton of weapons. Him and Diggs is going to be a special tandem for years to come, and I'm just excited to see what he can do. So he would make it on that list as well. Who I'd probably throw in there that most people probably have in their lower 10? I'd probably put Jalen Hurts in there this year. A lot of people sleep on the fact that he rushed for a lot of touchdowns last year. He had a lot of rushing touchdowns, and I think that he's going to continue to build off that. Philly's trying to, build a roster there, and I believe he's going to do some things, so he'd probably be the bottom of my top 5 fantasy-wise. Got 2 more. I'm going to take Herbert, of course. He's another young guy who's kind of just rising the ladder, and he has great talent there. He still has Keenan Allen. The Chargers are making moves. Their defense is better, so with the defense being so good, he's going to have a lot of possession. I think he's going to do some great things and score a lot of touchdowns, but not against the Raiders.
Okay.
And then, last but not least, this guy is probably going to be, if not 1 or 2, he'll definitely be 3 in my opinion. Derek Carr.
He's a top 5, huh?
I believe this year.
Okay.
This year, and that's what my interpretation is. Is what I feel like.
Yeah, no,
that's
this year. Fantasy wise, yep, that's what.
Fantasy wise, I think Derek Carr will finish in the top 5 this year. Again, the addition of Devontae Adams, a healthy Darren Waller, a healthy Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow. We're gonna do damage.
Basically, all the reasons I laid out why he's a sleeper.
Yeah, and you know what? I know a lot of people are saying, oh, Vegas has one of the toughest schedules against receivers and things like that. It doesn't matter. We have one of the toughest receiving quarters. Come see us. Derek Carr will be a top 5 fantasy quarterback. What about you at quarterback?
So my 5, and I'll just go from 5 to 1. Lamar Jackson at 5.
Okay.
Joe Burrow at 4.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes at 3. I think his production might take a slight hit, not a big hit. And I think the difference between 1 and 3 is pretty close.
I agree.
Justin Herbert at 2. He's got a lot of weapons. Continues to grow in that offense. The stability of 3 years now. And then my top quarterback is Josh Allen. I think he is another one that's just primed. And he would have been a sleeper for me, but I don't think there's any way you can really that people are sleeping on him. He's got receivers. He's got a running game. And he's got a tight end.
You know what I just realized?
What's that?
Tom Brady, you have an honorable mention in the last segment.
Honorable mention for hype.
Yeah, but neither one of us had him in our top 5. So.
Oh, no, he's not. I don't think he's a top 5 fantasy quarterback this year.
No, but I'm saying maybe that there's something to say behind you saying that he's all hype. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like, he's not
I think
in
we're
our
on the
top
same
5,
page.
so we might be on the same page.
I think we're on the same page.
I was actually expecting. What about running back?
Oh, man, running backs. So I'll go from 5 to 1. I've already said this a bunch of times, and I'm bullish on this guy. Javonte Williams is my number 5 running back. Nick Chubb at 4. I know he's long in the tooth, and it seems like he's been playing for a long time, but they're going to need that running game in Cleveland, and I think he's proven over the years that he's that dude. Derrick Henry at number 3. I just think that he's starting to get a little more tread on the tires, and he's been around a while. He got a little hurt last year, so I'm hoping that he can bounce back. And then Dalvin Cook at 2, and then I rounded out with the best running back in the game with Jonathan Taylor.
Nice. All right, so I'll go the opposite. Since you went 5 to 1, I'll go 1 to 5.
All right.
And your number 1 is my number 1, Jonathan Taylor, hands down. There's no question about it. You know, I know you're talking about tread, but, man, when the guy is this kind of an athlete, you can't leave him off your fantasy football list because he's going to get those red zone targets. They're going to give it to him when they're close. They're not going to pull a Seattle and throw it on the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
They're going to feed Derrick Henry.
Unless he's throwing it.
Yeah, unless he's throwing it. You're right. You know, but I'll save him for number 3.
Oh.
My number 2 guy has to be Austin Eckler. You know, I think that Austin Eckler, you know, he went to college here, baby, did his thing here, you know what I'm saying?
From Eaton, Colorado. Shout out Eaton, Colorado.
Shout out to Colorado boy. You know, he's been productive, and I think people kind of sleep on his productivity and the Chargers offense for the last few years, to be honest. Even though I'm a Raider fan, I think people kind of overlook him a little bit. So I'd put him at my number 2. Slightly behind him would be Derrick Henry because of the injuries and the tread on his tires and a bigger body. How is it kind of handling some of that? But like I said, he's a
different style runner than Eckler is.
Yeah, and he's a specimen though, bro. Yeah. So I couldn't drop him too far, but I did drop him down to number 3. Number 4 for me, young guy. I'm kind of worried about the offense a little bit, but Najee Harris, man, he's a special player, and I think that he's gonna, again, kind of be the focal point of that offense this year for them. You know, with who's going to be their quarterback. Is it going to be the young guy? Is it going to be Trubisky? Who knows? So Najee Harris is going to have to take on a little bit more of the brunt of that load there. And I think that he's going to step up to the plate and do what he has to do. You know,
he's gonna be running against some big boxes too, bro. Like they're gonna be stacking that box.
Yeah, they're gonna stack it
till their quarterback can show competent play.
But the thing about Najee is he could catch it out of the backfield too. So they're not only gonna have to use him. His productivity is gonna go up, but it's not only gonna be up in the run game. He's gonna be, you know, catching someone out of the backfield. So that's why I kind of put him in here, and that's not fair for his receiving ability, but I did anyway. And then, you know, this guy, I love him, man. He's another downhill runner, but he's a little bit more athletic. James Conner.
Okay.
I think people sleep on James Conner. You know, I think people are sleeping on Arizona a little bit, you know, because of the way it ended last year and Kyler and who he was to the team and what he said, what he did, and like everything you said earlier, I think people are questioning the stability of the locker room. Well, I think a guy like James Conner brings a little bit of a veteran presence. You know, they're going to come out there, and I think they're going to move the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And, when some of those drives start to stall out, getting closer to the red zone, feed James Conner, and he's going to move those chains and eventually get it into the end zone, in my opinion. So James Conner would probably be my number 5 back.
And he had a quietly good season last year. So
yeah, he did.
He's not bad. I think that's a good top 5. I can argue, like I said, if C-Mac can stay healthy and put himself back in that conversation, he's definitely on that list.
Yeah,
that's just a big if.
And an honorable mention for me has to be Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon is again a vet in the game, but man, he is such an important piece to that Cincinnati success.
Dude, he's low-key some of the reason why I have Burrow ranked so high.
Yeah.
It's because of Joe Mixon, because he's going to take a lot of that pressure off the pass game.
Man, and he's so clutch. He's a downhill runner too. Like, you talk about Derrick Henry being a downhill runner. Man, Joe Mixon runs downhill and he's not that big of a dude for doing that, and he runs hard, bro.
You know where it doesn't show up at for Joe Mixon, and this is where he's vitally important, and he don't get points for this in fantasy.
Yeah,
is he's a great pass protector.
Yeah, he is.
And he's not only is he good, he can come out and catch the ball, but he's great in pass protection. And I think that's part of the reason. He's part of the reason why I have Burrow ranked so high. Wide receivers, your favorite position? You ain't gonna be happy with me. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I already know what you're going to do, so I'm not going to do that. Number 1, I'm going to go Cooper Kupp.
I can respect that.
All right, I got to go Cooper Kupp just based off of his performance last year and Stafford. Honestly, I think Stafford is probably, was well overdue to be traded out of Detroit and into a better situation because he's a damn good quarterback. And he's a damn good quarterback.
Do you think not having Odell Beckham, what's his name? The other receiver that got hurt last year. Robert Woods. Not having some of these guys around him is going to cause his production to fall back a little bit?
I don't, because I think, I think Cooper Kupp is not like your Hunter Renfrows, like your Wes Welkers. I think he's a little bit above them in the physicality aspect of the game,
gotcha.
and honestly, his route running is kind of smooth too. He's smooth with it, bro, and he's
fast.
He's not afraid to get double teamed. He's not afraid. I think Cooper Kupp's going to be just fine.
Well, his rapport with Matthew Stafford is incredible. I have him as my number 2 receiver, and that's. That was hard for me to put him at number 2. He did good for me last year. I think I had him in the league that I beat you in.
Yeah.
But
keep saying that.
My bad.
It's all right. Hey, sometimes the sun shines on a dog's ass every once in a while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But like I said, I had him too. I had Justin Jefferson as my number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah.
I just think he's trending that way.
He's a highlight reel.
Dude,
he really is a highlight reel. Like, every time you see Minnesota on the field, you're looking for him and seeing what he's going to do. He was actually my number 2 guy. Yep. So it's funny, we flip-flopped him there. And then behind him, I got to put my boy. I'm going to put Devontae Adams at number 3. I just think that he still got to prove, as much as I'm a Raider fan, he still got to prove that he's that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think mid-season he'll probably be the number 1 receiver in the NFL, in my opinion. That may be a little bit of bias, but I think he's going to show everybody that he's still that dude, and that he's not going to just drop off because he's in a new place. He's going to still be that guy and still get his productivity and still catch passes.
Well, I think it's like we mentioned with quarterback, that 1 to 3 is so close. So I think any one of those 1 to 3 can be interchangeable. I rounded my top 5 out with Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill. Jamar at 4, Tyreek Hill at 5. I think Tyreek has potential to be up there in that top. And I mean, these receivers, man, they're all got a stake for that number 1 spot.
Yeah.
I just think right now that top 3 is going to be a hard one to crack.
Yeah, man. I don't know what I'm rounding out with. I'm looking at my list and I see who I put there, but then I see who's underneath that, and I'm kind of like
second guessing the list.
Yeah, dude, because Jamar Chase, he would be up there because, again, he's, to me, is like Justin Jefferson. He's a highlight reel. Then I got Tyreek there, and I drafted Tyreek, but I didn't say anything about Deebo Samuel.
I know.
And
he's hard to leave out the top 5.
And I think I have to put Deebo Samuel in there. The reason why I was hesitant to put him in there and put him higher is because a lot of his productivity came out of the backfield and not necessarily just receiving. But man, he's different. Yeah. DK Metcalf as well. Yeah. You know, they're just different.
When it comes to fantasy points, you can't argue the production that Deebo Samuel potentially is going to give you. And that's why I drafted him.
Yeah, I know. I was going to take him, but I ended up with Adams and Kupp, so I'm not mad at it.
Well, I mean, the rich can't get richer, dog. Jeez,
yeah, I know, right? Hey, but I think for we're pretty in tune with a lot of our top 5s. I think
the receivers was a little bit easier. Yeah, I don't know if you did tight ends.
Oh, I did tight ends, actually. Okay. Well, for me, number 1 guy is Travis Kelce. Okay. You know, there's no brainer there.
I think there's an argument there, but
I mean, if anybody, I would say Mark Andrews would be that guy to argue with.
Okay.
Only because Mark Andrews again is that one guy that we're for sure is going to have an impact on that Ravens receiving corps, right? Yeah. And I just don't know what else is going to happen there. He might get a lot of those targets that Marquise Brown left. So I think Mark Andrews would be my number 2 guy. Number 3, man. I drafted George Kittle, but I think I'd probably put Dalton Schultz over him.
Okay. Dalton Schultz is legit.
He is legit, bro. He's a lunch pail type of guy, right? Yep. He goes to work, and I think Dak, CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys, they have a great offense, and I think that Dalton Schultz is going to have a great year as well.
I snagged him like in the 10th round in our draft.
Yeah, I know.
He was still there.
I know.
I was surprised.
So when I took Kittle, I had the same argument I'm having in my head of who's above who.
Yeah.
I had the same thing. The reason I took Kittle was strength of schedule.
Okay.
That's the reason I took him. And then number 5, I'm going to surprise everybody based off of strength of schedule.
Okay.
Cole Kmet. Chicago has a very favorable schedule for tight ends. And remember, I told you Justin Fields is my sleeper quarterback this year. Justin Fields is going to use this guy, especially in the red zone, and I think he's going to drastically bump up from outside of the top 20 to within the top.
Wow. He's a solid tight end. I don't know if he's going to make that big of a jump, but that's definitely a great.
But let's be real. When it comes to tight ends, the last 5 years there's always a drop off, right? It's like the top 3 guys, and then, and notice who I didn't put on my list, right? Because I knew you would say I was biased. I left him off on purpose.
Darren Waller?
Yeah, because he would have been on there.
I don't think he's a top 5.
I do.
You think so?
I
just have too many questions. I got burned by him last year.
But the thing is I mentioned Deebo Samuel. Right?
Yeah.
I mentioned DK Metcalf. I mentioned Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And all those guys, they have something in common. They're kind of hybrids. I'm sorry. And I think that Darren Waller is the same thing. He's going to get put outside. He could be put inside, and just
he's the old Jimmy Graham style tight end.
Just that aspect alone is going to improve his game, and he's coming off an injury with something to prove. So Darren Waller would definitely be in my top 5, but because I'm a Raiders fan, I left him off because I don't want to hear nothing.
I'll start from 5, bro. Just because I got kind of a surprise at 5 in the top 5 too.
Okay.
I got Dawson Knox at 5. Mm-hmm. He's another one I picked up I like that 12th round. I think the rapport he built with Josh Allen at the end of the season last year is big, and I really like him, man. I really like him. He's kind of an under the radar kind of tight end. I got Mark Andrews at number 4. I wonder about the lack of weapons in Baltimore and how that's going to affect some of the other weapons. So I have a big concern about that. I got Travis Kelce at number 3. Again, this kind of goes into the effects of like everyone else. At some point, it's got to Father Time's going to catch up to you. He plays a very physical style. He's been around for a while. I just wonder if even a drop in production for him, he's still going to be a great tight end.
So you said Dawson Knox and Travis Kelce. Dawson Knox had 14 touchdowns last year. Travis Kelce had 9.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I knew I liked Dawson Knox for a reason, though.
Yeah.
Number 2, I got George Kittle. I think he had an injury-plagued season last year, but when he's on, he's one of the best there is in the game. And then my number 1 tight end, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, and I think the torch has been passed this year, or this past season. I think the torch was passed, and I think Kyle Pitts is going to emerge as the number 1 fantasy tight end this year.
We'll see. I understand why.
Do you?
Kind of.
Lack of options. Like lack of serious. They got the rookie, what is his name? London. They got that rookie wide receiver. Not too much else on the outside.
Yeah.
I think Mariota's history of throwing to the tight end, Delaney Walker, it just comes to mind. Kyle Pitts is very much so like in that same category as Waller in terms of that hybrid style.
Yeah.
You know, you can spread them out, matchup nightmare.
Yeah.
And I just, man, I'm big on him.
Yeah, my concern with him is kind of what you said, right? Lack of options. So with the lack of options, kind of like what we were saying with Najee Harris earlier, is teams are going to stack the box against Najee, while I think teams are going to double Pitts, right? They're going to leave a safety over the top, and they're going to double him. And I think that, he might open up the productivity for a lot of his other teammates, but I think his productivity might kind of not see the acceleration that some people are expecting based off of the lack of options for Mariota.
They do lack options. I mentioned Drake London. They do have Cordell Patterson in the backfield, and Damian Williams backing him up. So that's gonna help add a little bit to it. I just think this kid's dynamic.
Yeah,
and I really think he's super dynamic, man, and he's a game changer. I would not be surprised if I seen him literally take over that mantle. I also wouldn't be surprised if I see George Kittle or Travis Kelce or Darren Waller, for that matter.
Yeah,
step back into the light and say, "Hey, this is me you're talking about." I think tight end is an undervalued position in fantasy. If you got a great one, it could make up for a lot of lack of wide receiver depth. Sometimes, if you can get 2 really good ones, use one as a flex and use the other one at your tight end position. Help you out during bye weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to correct myself earlier. I said Dawson Knox had 12, Travis Kelce had 9. They both actually finished the season with 9 touchdowns, but that's great presence to be amongst, right? Yeah. Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, Dawson Knox, Hunter Henry all finished with 9 touchdowns. Hunter Henry's another one we didn't mention for New England, and with the different change of pace in New England, we're going to see what Bill Belichick has in store. But again, New England's notorious for using their tight ends. I think Hunter Henry's going to be, helping out Mac Jones a little bit. Who knows? He could have a great year this year, and I also drafted him.
Going to New England did a lot for him. Yeah. Because he kind of fizzled out. He was supposed to be a lot better than he was in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Yep. And I think going to New England kind of changed the trajectory of his career. I think it was big to go to New England. So would not be surprised to see a big season from him. I don't know, man. It's the fun about fantasy.
Yeah, man.
We make these lists, and then we come back to it, and there's a good chance that 1-2 of these guys make this list.
You know what the crazy thing is I made my lists, right, and some of them changed while we sat here and talked. I'm serious. Like, some guys shifted up a little bit, some guys shifted out, some guys I didn't even mention.
It's like the album conversation.
Yeah.
You start to get to conversate, and you start thinking about impact. And
I already know my nephews are going to hit me up and say, why don't you mention this person? Why don't you mention that person?
That's awesome. Hey, if you think that we left somebody out, hit us up, DNASportsDenver.com/AskDNA. Tell us who we forgot, because this is just our opinion. We're just trying to give you guys some things to think about coming up with your fantasy leagues. And if you win your fantasy leagues because of some of the information you got here, you best hook up DNA. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But before we get out of here, Coach, remember I said I wanted to talk about something.
Yeah, you got a curveball.
Did you see the joint practice between the Bengals and the Rams?
I didn't.
A fight broke out.
Uh-oh.
And not even just a fight. A big brawl broke out. and there's video that emerged, a photo and video. The photo is Aaron Donald holding 2 Bengals helmets like this. And the video, well, I'm not going to say what the video entails, but, I'm sure people already seen it. You're going to go out and check it out. But I just wanted to ask your opinion. Like, the game gets chippy. We all know that. We've all played it. We've all been a part of it. But at this professional level, man, when you're that big and strong and you're using a helmet as a weapon, you know what I mean? Like, is that like, what do you think about the training camp brawls, bro? We're going too far. Like, how do you feel about that?
I think these boys are out there beating the shit out of each other for a number of weeks, and then they get someone else to beat the shit out of. And football's already an emotional sport, and I think the emotions get the best of you.
Oh, for sure.
I think it's almost wrong to say that can't happen, because, like, I think coaches play on your emotion. Be a dog out there, you know, give it your all, fight.
We're
whatever.
bad influences in the case. But and that's why I asked you, Coach, because I knew you were going to say that. And I knew you were going to say exactly what I wanted to say, because I think a lot of people see this, right, and they forget that these athletes are human.
Yeah.
And they forget that this game is an emotional game.
Yeah.
And within the trenches of the game, it's a fight every single play.
True.
Right? And like you said, you're going through training camp against the same exact teammates, so you're fighting with your teammates over and over, and fights break out in those training camps as well.
Oh my God, he is bashing him with the helmet, bro.
Yeah. But
in the trenches especially, that's where you see a lot of it at.
Yeah, the offensive linemen too are known to be kind of bullies, and not to mention, who are the 2 teams that played in the Super Bowl?
True that.
So there's a little bit of built up emotion there. So, I think, do we want to see NFL players out there swinging helmets? No. But has that happened since the beginning of time? Yes. So give Aaron Donald a break. He's a human. I understand it's not what we want to see, but it's a game of football, and there's a lot of emotions riding on it. And I just wanted to touch base on it and put a different perspective on it, because a lot of the times you'll see media bashing people whenever things happen like this. And sometimes we got to understand that sometimes we're going to step out of character.
And listen, the reality is this. It wasn't on a Sunday afternoon.
Yep, it wasn't nationally
televised game. Honestly, 15 years ago, you might not even seen this video come out of practice. You might have just heard about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not mad at Aaron Donald for that. Now, we got to be professional, and you got to be smarter and not be bashing people. Ask Myles Garrett about that, about bashing somebody with a helmet. Yeah. And I'm sure they'll probably find him. Yeah. I think it's a better look than trying to screw, trying to,
get massages.
I'm trying to say this without hitting that beat button.
Oh,
but it's a better look than getting these massages that you're planning on your special areas.
Yeah,
I mean,
endings.
We can go down that rabbit hole, but I'll cut Aaron some slack. It is what it is. It gets, if you ain't been in them trenches, you just don't know how choppy it gets, man. It gets hectic in them trenches.
Like Willie said, parents just don't understand. Hey, shout out to Aaron Donald, man. Continue to do what you do. We're all men. We all have character lapses sometimes, but we all own up to them.
Yep.
We all speak about it. We all man up to whatever happens, and we move forward. And I know that's what you're going to do, because you're a mentor to a lot of young people.
Yep. I was just going to say that man's in the community.
You're a mentor to us coaches out there.
Yep.
And from DNA, we just want to give you a special shout out, but we also want to give a shout out to Arsenal Custom Apparel, Rebel Promotions, Black Sevens, Janice's Catering, and DNASportsDenver.com, of course. Hit up our social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you name it, we got it. Hit us up, book a session, check us out, man. This was a great episode, Coach. I had fun.
hey, shout out to, like Dom said, everybody, Arsenal, Rebel, Black Sevens, Janice's Catering, the family, your wife, my wife, my kids, your kids. Shout out to our coach friends, Little League coach friends, anybody playing football, any of those drafting this week. Yo, good luck in your draft. We appreciate you tuning in. Dom, I mean, I know you got more. What's up?
I just got one more thing because you sparked something for me, bro.
Spark
it. You thanked someone that we got to give a special thanks to. You thanked our wives.
Yo.
And not a lot of times people thank their wives for enduring the time that things like this take, like coaching takes away from them. And we got two great ones that understand what we do, man. And shout out to them for holding down the fort when we're out here in the community trying to do what we can do for all the youth. They're at home doing it for our youth. So shouts out to them. You know, I'm not going to name drop them, you know, but we appreciate you. We love you guys. Thank you.
Coach, can I talk my shit?
Go ahead, Coach.
We couldn't do this without y'all, without the love and support of our strong women behind us. We couldn't do it without y'all. Screw behind us, without our strong women besides us.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
That's for sure.
We couldn't do it without them. Everything that we get to do, we get to coach, we get to work with these young people, we get to make an impact in the community, and that's all based off the support from their love and then our family. So big shout out to y'all. I know we don't say it enough at the end of these shows, but we just want to make sure that you guys know because we appreciate you beyond words.
Well, that's the way to end it.
With that, we out. Love y'all.
Out.